Ed Martel here from the Overhead Athletic Institute. We've taken you through the progression that we use to teach the curveball. We're often confronted with athletes who have a very difficult time keeping their body from deviating into bad positions, and they creep and creep further into their old movement pattern, and they end up having difficulty creating revolutions on the ball without doing the things that we don't want you to do. So just like we do with our phase-specific throwing program, there are specific fixes. We often have athletes, by taking out components of the kinetic chain and forcing them to create revolutions from the right position, or with the arm in the right position relative to their chest, by having people go on their knees. So what we often do is, if we are confronted with an athlete after we've taught them the phase-specific throwing program, we've worked with them on the curveball, and we still see deviations or compensations that we know are going to incorporate themselves into the throwing motion and confuse the nervous system and not teach it the way that we want to be taught, teach what needs to be taught the right way, we'll have them go into abbreviated positions. So we'll go on the mound once again, trying to throw on a downward plane, and then what we'll have them do is we'll have them go on both knees. So we make it harder for them to disassociate their trunk or rotate their body and create revolutions by deviating the wrong way, by taking components out of it. So what we'll do is we'll have Carter rotate his knees and both of his feet towards the right. So now that makes it harder for him to get his arm into a bad position, because in order for him to rotate to the right, it limits the amount of rotation he has to the right. So in order to create revolutions on the ball the right way, he has to do it the right way. So by not allowing you to rotate to the right and side bend left, because your hips are allowed to rotate, we'll take the hips out of it, force you to keep your arm in the right position, and now Carter's going to demonstrate it. So from here, you can see he rotates his body, so he has to do it the right way. So we pay close attention to where the elbow is in relation to the shoulder, and now from there, he's going to scapular plane, wrist deviated the right way, in a relative supination, even though it's facing the target. Now from there, he just does it. Hard to make the ball spin the right way from that position. So Carter, grab the ball. We're going to do it again. So the body's rotated to the left, which makes it harder to rotate to the right. And now, if you can create the right spin on the ball, which is very easy to see when you're playing catch with someone, and we'll only have them do it from 20 to 25 feet because it's hard to make it go any farther. So from there, rotated back, and so now throwing from that static position makes it very difficult for you to create revolutions the right way, but forces your body to do it in a way that's going to incorporate itself into your full curveball throw. So then from there, we'll have them go feet, knees apart a little bit, locks the hips in a little bit, feet pointing straight ahead, or his feet pointing straight behind, and now from there, once again, in that position, go ahead and do it. So he lifts the chest, and then tries to create spin by flexing his chest forward with his elbow out in front. This one we do all the time, and we'll add the internal rotation if we start to see a deviation that really, really concerns us. Now from here, he's going to do one more like that. So you can see he lifts his arm up, elongating his lat, using his tricep as he goes into relative internal rotation with his shoulder. So he comes over the ball into internal rotation, not what we often see, which is supination around the ball. Can't do it the right way. You can't do it the wrong way here because your body will fall off to the left. So now go ahead. So you can see he spins it, but then his arm still ends up in internal rotation. So you do spin, you come over the top of the ball with pronation. You don't come over the ball with supination after the throw. So it's supinate to pronate, and then it's over the top of the ball into pronation at the end. Now he rotates his hips to the left, which makes it easier for you to create more rotation to the right with your chest. But once again, paying close attention to the arm being in front of the chest, wrist flexed, relative supination. So this is full supination. It's relative supination to the target, but it's not full supination of the arm. So now from there, he lifts his chest, rotates around his hips, and now comes through to the target. So you can see it's easier to make it spin this way, the right way, but still limits the amount of, or makes it more difficult for you to do things incorrectly, from side bending your lumbar spine or using your hips incorrectly. So now from here, he's going to go into both hips internally rotated. So now Ankles are outside the elbows. So now from here, you can see when he rotates right, go ahead and rotate right. So now from that position, you can't see it from this angle, but his elbow's well in front of his chest. Here's his shoulders, here's his chest. Now from here, this position, rotate to the right, and now try and create that spin the right way, get on top of it, and you can see 12-6 curveball. You know, throwing a curveball to a right-hander, maybe you want to go, you know, a little bit more on an oblique angle, but you still want to create the revolutions the right way. If your elbow's in front of the scapular plane and you're using your tricep and you're out in front of your chest, you won't deviate into the positions that are going to cause you to do things incorrectly and lead to excessive strain on your elbow. So now from here, what we'll do is we'll go one knee up. So now he'll go, let's go right knee up first. So now we'll go right knee up, which allows you to flex and rotate a little bit more in the follow through. Unlike the positions where you're here, we have to do it the right way, because if you go too far forward, you'll fall over. So now from here, elbow in front of the scapular plane, right in this position, rotates to the right as far as he can, and now gets on top of the ball, expands the chest, and you can see he can go more into the follow-through as it happens in the regular throwing motion, but still he's still limited in his right rotation. And what it does is by limiting that right rotation and not letting your elbow go back, you really learn how to create trunk disassociation and learn how to throw your chest forward and down and across. If you have the ability to rotate all the way back because there's nothing limiting your rotation, you're going to end up throwing your arm back, and then you're going to do it wrong. So we pay close attention to the elbow being in front of the chest, making sure that you're doing it the right way. So once again, from there, right leg forward, makes it harder for you to rotate right. And now from here, he's going to rotate his body to the right as far as he can, and then you can see he gets on top of the ball. So he's actually going a little bit into the internal rotation apex, which is okay, but he's in the frontal plane and from the ER apex, which is up high. So now from here, you can see the natural progression is to put the left leg forward. So now from here, it's easier for you to rotate right. You want to make sure this foot's pointed straight behind you. And now from here, he goes right rotation in his lumbar spine, and then he comes up over the top. You can see he goes up slowly, and now he keeps his arm up and over the target. So he's actually pulling from its apex over the top of the ball without letting his arm deviate into horizontal abduction with the arm elongating. So you're practicing making sure that your lever arm is in the right position inside 90 degrees, which forces you to get your chest out in front of the throw, out in front, because if you're throwing the curveball and your release point's back here, you can't do that from this position. So by going into a half kneeling position, you can't go into lumbar extension and side bend left. You'll fall over. So you're recreating, or you're trying to limit the body's ability to do it incorrectly by forcing you into a position that will teach you how to create revolutions on the ball without going into bad positioning. So again, from there, he's going to rotate the body, and now you can see he can't go into a position where he can create revolutions the right way or create revolutions on a ball and not deviate into bad positions. So now from there, we'll take the mat out. He's been on a little mat here. And now from here, what we'll do is we'll go in a standing position, which makes you're closer and closer to the position that you'd be allowed to go to in a real throwing motion, but we won't let you step forward. We're going to have you go right here with the feet together, which allows you to use your hips a little bit more than when you're kneeling, and you get motion in the ankles and motion at the knee joint. So we took out two joints, and we limited and restricted motion in the hip joint by pre-positioning it in ways that make it harder for you to deviate into bad positioning. And now from here, he keeps the ball right in front of his chest, same thing, and he comes up over his chest, he lifts the ball, yep, he can rotate. And you can see he can go into the follow-through a little bit more, which is closer to what happens in a normal throwing motion, but we haven't allowed him to step. So he has to learn how to expand his chest, lift it, expand and come over the top, expand and come over the top, expand and come over the top. One more time. See, so the only way he can do it is by throwing his chest forward, coming from the ER apex down through the throw. The next natural progression from here, we'll actually have him throw with the left leg forward. Let's throw with, right leg forward, sorry, you're right. Right leg forward, which allows you to go into the follow through a little bit more than you did in the feet together. So now from here, See? And he's creating more and more revolutions. You can't see it on tape, but each time he goes to different positions, when you add the body's ability to use another component, you can create more revolutions on the ball. When you're doing it in the kneeling position with your feet rotated to the right or your ankles rotated to the right, it's very difficult to create revolutions. You start using this program by creating as much revolutions as fast as you can from those static positions where you've limited the body's ability to move. And then the more you do these positions, from each of these positions, the faster you're going to be able to create revolutions on the ball, which is going to incorporate itself into your full throw. So from there, sometimes we'll just have him do feet internally rotated versus externally rotated. So we might limit that. So we're going to have him go into right rotation. So you're going to actually go, no, left rotation with the ankle. So right there, you're going to limit the body's ability to rotate right. So you'll go feet deviated with the toes pointing more to the left, which makes it harder for you to do, but easier to follow through. So now from here, yep. So right there you can see his feet are rotated to the left. And now, similar to the one we had your knees rotated to the left, this one's meant once again to allow you to follow through to get to the point where you flex forward with your lumbar spine but limit your right rotation because your hips are rotated both laterally or both internally rotated. From there, we'll go just like you would normally do. We could go left foot forward. So left foot forward with no step from this position. Limit your body's ability to deviate with the wrong lever arm positioning from here. Now he's creating much more revolution, similar to what you would do in a normal throw. We'll actually have people start with the left leg up, have them do a lift and a come over the top. So now he's going to do this one as well. So these are all intended to teach you how to create revolutions on the ball without letting yourself deviate into horizontal abduction or an elongated lever arm. So the ball stays inside your wrist, your wrist stays inside your elbow. Now from here, the left leg's going to be up. Now you're going to lift your chest, and now watch what happens. Go forward. That one's harder to create spin. That's a very difficult one to do because you're not rotating to the right. If the body's allowed to rotate right, you can make deviations by falling to the left, and now what ends up happening is it looks like the wrist is inside the elbow, but then if you see, it's not. So this can create the perception that the ball is inside the wrist, and this is what we always see with injured athletes, which is why it's so important to restrict the body's ability to rotate left or side bend left in the throw, because it changes the orientation of the stresses completely. So you do end up side bending left in the throw, but it's after the ball's released. If you're side bending too far left early in the throw, it leads to a whole host of problems. Who was it we just watched on video? That somebody used the video, one of the website guys that would say, okay, watch this guy's throwing motion, and he did another pitching lesson by, I don't remember who it was, but anyways, it was watching a thrower who ended up getting injured, and the whole time we were watching the video and we're like, okay, that's wrong, that's an improper position of the elbow, that's side bent left, and he was drawing, using the Uber Sense or whatever, coach's corner, and he was using some sort of, website analysis program, and he was talking about how it was so done well and there was fluidity in the motion, and we were looking at it going, wait a minute, this is all wrong. You're side bent left. It looks like his ball's inside 90 degrees, and this is what we saw most. It was Zach Wheeler? And it was completely wrong, and it looked like it was okay, but the problem was he didn't show it from the scapular plane. He showed the position from the front, so the video analysis was done demonstrating it as an example of what to do, and the entire time we're like, wait a minute, this is why he got hurt. So very important that you understand side bend left, lever arm position, outside 90 degrees can cause a whole host of problems. It limits your external rotation, lowers your elbow angle, everything can go wrong from there. So let's do that one again. Left leg up, lifts his chest. That is a very, very important drill to do. You're not allowed to rotate your hip, so we'll actually do it from here too. We'll go here, we'll start from a leg up position, and we'll stay right in the ER apex. And we'll have him do it from there. So you can use any one of the positions that you've learned in the phase-specific throwing program and take any different position, IR apex, ER apex, low to high, and the key is learning how the fulcrumization happens. Is the arm being brought to me? Am I going to internal rotation with my shoulder, external rotation with my shoulder, taking the lever arm out of it, just like he's going to show here. So he can go into the IR apex. Now right to IR apex. And now from there, ball pointed away, and now go ahead and throw. So you create more and more revolutions the more components you add, more body components you add, but you got to make sure that your arm stays in the right spot. We love the IR apex and the ER apex because it allows an athlete to feel what it's like to create velocity out in front of his chest without deviating into an elongated lever arm position or behind the scapular plane with incorrect positioning of the wrist and elbow. What that does, that internalizes for the athlete the position that needs to be recreated in a full throw and gives them the opportunity to feel it so that when they do go a full throw, they're going to have the chance to go, that doesn't feel like what it felt like when I did it from an abbreviated apex position. So this progression, more of a corrective fix, we thought it was very important to demonstrate it to you, show you how you can use different positions in the throwing motion from an abbreviated apex point to recreate for your body so that your body teaches your brain and it will remember where it's supposed to be so that when you go through the throwing motion, a full throwing motion, you can video it yourself, you can watch it and you can see, am I doing the same things as I was from those abbreviated positions as I am in my full throw? If you're not, then you know that you have to continue to use the program, continue to start from the abbreviated positions so that your throwing motion gravitates or gets closer and closer to the biomechanically efficient model. Biomechanical efficiency has to be felt. You have to know what it feels like to be in biomechanically efficient positions. If your body's never felt it, it's never going to know to go there. That's why it's so important to go through the progressions from the static spots and then incorporate corrective fixes if need be. So we wanted to use this as a secondary adjunct to our first program. If you start to see or you start to notice that your curveball is not spinning the way that it should, you go right back to the beginning and start from the knees down, then work your way back, and then randomize it, taking different positions from different apexes, different leg lifts, and then what ends up happening is your body will remember where it's supposed to be in three-dimensional space. You're going to maximize the amount of revolutions, and you're going to hide the ball. The biggest thing we've learned from doing the IR apex and the ball low to high at the right point of the throwing motion is hitters don't pick up the ball early. The last thing you want to do is telegraph a pitch. You can't do it if your lever arms are approximating at the right point. So we wanted to incorporate this program. We appreciate the time. We're going to continue to progress, teaching you other pitches. We hope this format's received well where we do it more in an elongated video. We know it takes a long time to watch, but given what we've heard from people, it's better than having to click on another video, click on another video. So that's how we're going to do things in the future. We're going to continue to add things. We're going to have video lessons where we work with athletes, showing you what we do in an athlete that has a specific problem. So the OAI was intended to do one thing, protect athletes from injury. We want you to use it for not only that, but to maximize what you can potentially do. That has to happen by learning the right positions, doing it over and over again. That's what we're going to give you.